Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode on Jumpstart Monday. It's the 11th of July, and today we're talking about what the best companies to work for do differently. Our guest for today, and let me introduce her before we go on and show Katerina, is Katerina Andreou, who is an amazing personality and passionate about human resources. She's a keen blogger, runner, and dog lover. She's an expert on psychological profiling and choosing the right candidate for the right role. She grew up living and working in several countries from the Middle East to Europe. And Katerina is the founder of HRInnovate, which is a people-centered international recruitment HR agency. Having said all this, let me bring Katerina on and welcome her to the Jumpstart Monday show. Welcome, Katerina.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And what I haven't said, and I want to say this from my heart, is that you're very unique, even in your posts and in your company's posts on LinkedIn. That's where I check most of the times. It's not a coincidence. You have 26,326 followers. I think it's the way you write things. You just don't say, come and work for us, we're hiring. But you go through a completely different way of coming across. And I take my hat off to you for that.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment.
I mean it, and that's one of the reasons we invited you on to the show. But before I go on to ask our first question, let me say that we're broadcasting live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Feel free to share the episode, and if you do, there is one winner of our prize. And at the end of this episode, we're announcing our winner for the Stand Up, Stand Out online course for 1 year subscription at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. Share this episode either live now or after the episode is finished, and you have a week to do so. So, having said all this, Katerina, let me first ask you the first question, and we're going to divide it into two parts. The first part, we're going to ask questions, and the second part, either are questions from our guests, from our fans and friends, then we're more than happy to answer these questions.
Sounds good.
They can send them in, or they can come in live. Let me share the link for coming in live. Just note this link down, guys, and you can come and ask your question live, or you can send it in.
Fabulous. What a great way to start the week.
Katerina, who is Katerina as a person? What motivates Katerina? What inspires her?
You know, Michael, over the years, even as a young person, it hasn't changed that much. I tend to like things direct, straight up, and I always wanted to work with people, but I wanted to do work that was satisfying in the sense that it directly affected people to a positive degree. I wanted to do something where I could really affect change. So human resources was sort of a natural graduation. I'd had a career in mental health and working with families and children, and when I moved into the commercial sector, I didn't necessarily want to lose sight of that. And since, apart from your family, the second family for all of us is our work family, it was a natural progression.
It was. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to ask if there was any psychology background, because the way you come across, you're not simply answering emails, posting there. I think there is a certain psychology behind it. I couldn't pinpoint to it, but I could feel it, and it resonated with me positively. So now that I know what your background is, and I'm so happy that you wanted to progress by keeping part of your background and using it in there. So how did this amazing idea and team of HRInnovate has come about? You could have stayed somewhere and worked for someone else. How did this come about?
You know, I really wanted to be part of the solution and not the problem. And again, that's very me, because I do tend to prefer people that come up with solutions rather than whining or complaining. So I wanted to be master of my own ship, my own destiny, and I wanted to do things my way. I'd sort of been an employee for years. I'd worked in the public sector. I'd worked for the government in the UK. I'd worked in a lot of different spheres. And you're always, you know, hoping that your employer or your manager will hear you and take your ideas. But after a certain amount of time, if you have that entrepreneurial itch, then it kind of has to be scratched. And you get to a point where you think, right, now I need to do it by myself, for myself. So I wanted an agency, or I wanted to create, you know, that was the itch.
The H, yeah. So you scratched it. Were you?
Yeah.
Was there any fear inside you whilst you attempted to scratch it and
Ooh.
move from your comfort zone?
Yeah, hell
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
the easiest thing would have been, to stay as an employee and all the rest of it. But I'm not risk averse. I mean, as a personality, I was excited and I tend to like change and I work well. I sort of swim very well. So I thought, as scary as it was, I had to do it. And so by honoring that and doing it, I will say as well that for all entrepreneurs, I think you would probably agree, there's an element of that fear that keeps you striving on, and it helps you find the energy when you need it, and it never really leaves,
I
even once
totally,
you've jumped ship.
I totally agree. I totally
It's
agree
so
with you.
scary.
Yeah. So now let's get into the gist of what we're discussing today
Mhm.
about the best companies to work for. What do they do
Mhm.
differently? What is it about these companies that we can emulate or we can learn from?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me when I think of our best clients, I automatically see certain congruent factors that make them stand out. And
Yes,
it's usually, as with most things in life, it's not complicated. You don't need a university degree to understand it. It's really quite simple. If you're in business and you're an employer, listen. Listen to what the market is telling you. Listen to what the people you hire for their advice and expertise are telling you, and that can be your outsourced suppliers, your friendly neighborhood recruiter, for example, and your employees. The best employers are the ones that listen to those environmental factors and then adapt quickly. So we've had clients, for example, the one that keeps coming to mind is one of our UK clients who have an office in Cyprus, and they understood that tech recruitment is a global crisis at the moment, talent shortage like you wouldn't believe. So they literally, the founders came from England, they came to our offices in Nicosia, they sat with us with coffee, with all their job specs, hard copy, printed, so nothing flash, and they said, right, what is it we're missing? What is it we're not offering? What is it that the market is asking for that we need to give to get the best people? And we literally sat there for 2 hours. We changed job specs, we added benefits, we added all the market norms and trends that we had advised them are now what people are asking for, like remote work, like everything that we already know. And from that day on, we recruited every single week until we filled every single requisition for them, which is extremely hard to do in tech, but it
yes.
worked.
I know because my wife was in tech, is in tech, and
There you go.
that's what I hear all the time, finding it very
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
So 2 ears and one mouth, like God has given it to us, we have to listen in and
yeah,
then brainstorming together with the experts in order to adopt and adapt to changing
yeah,
conditions, changing trends,
yep,
so that we manage. So it's true, it's true. Even the best
yeah,
companies listen and
yeah.
they adopt
And
and
it,
adapt.
yeah, and it doesn't have to be money. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that everybody
yeah.
has to find resources that don't exist. If you don't have it, you don't have it, but you can be creative. You can show your employees that you care, that you are listening, that you're trying. Sometimes that counts more than anything.
Well, very, very true. It's as simple as it gets, but common sense is indeed not so common and not practiced by many.
No.
So, how can we keep and attract talent? We listen in. We've done what HRInnovate and the experts out there have told us to do. Now the CVs are coming in. How can we filter to attract talent, but also how can we make sure that we keep talent in the process where
Yes.
we're hiring other people?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Michael, because people always talk to me about recruitment because they assume that that's it, that's the beginning and the end. But actually, I'm telling all our clients now and all our prospective clients, I say every day, don't focus on getting somebody in the door. It's keeping them now. These generations are very different to the older generations in their longevity and the way they see things. And also, the market, even before COVID, had started to change. I don't personally agree that COVID is what changed the job market. It had already started as people started to tire of certain out of date practices.
Very
So
true.
I think that that's one of the things that happened. And I think that people have to be aware of it. So if you're going to retain your top talent, again, you have to listen. You've got to show them that you're invested in them. I didn't just hire you and that's it. I'm going to burn you out, or I'm going to hire one person to do 4 jobs. I'm going to respect the expertise you came with. I'm going to have a plan with you. So I'm going to have a human resource strategy forecast. and I'm going to show you that I believe in you, and I'm going to develop your career. So that's everything to do with training, learning, development, making sure that they can see that you're investing in the long term. You're not just asking for them to invest, but you're investing. That's one of the top ways to retain talent.
Is it easier for smaller companies than bigger companies to do so? Once the numbers expand, is it more difficult to keep track and follow this process? Or it's the same thing?
I think whether you're a small size firm or a large firm, it comes with different challenges. I mean, in a small firm, the beauty of it is people stand out really quick because it's obviously you're more exposed. But I think in a big firm, with the right people in the right roles, if you want to recognize people, if you want your people to feel valued, you will find a way. You can showcase people if you really authentically want to do that in your business, because as we know, with authenticity or anything that is genuinely people-centered, it starts from the top down. So it doesn't matter what country I sit in or how highbrow I am in my organization. If I want to show you that I care, I will. Like that client I just told you, they're actually not so small anymore, and they're not a startup, but the founders themselves flew to Cyprus. That's significant. They didn't send me a manager.
I understand. And I totally understand. And they were invested in the process. So listening in investing time and not only money in the process is what will help you move forward, even in an industry where there was a shortage of getting talent inside the door. From your experience, Katerina, can talent be lost in the recruiting process? Have you seen any gaps or where talent can be lost? And if yes, where? So we know. And guys, please feel free to send in your questions to Katerina. We will ask them live, or you can come up live and ask your question. Feel free to come up live by typing this into your browser, and you can come up live. Google Chrome browser, please. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question, Michael?
The question is, can talent be lost in the recruiting process? Where can talent be lost in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when recruitment is not planned out and it's very sort of knee-jerk or reactive, I think the potential to lose sight of talent is very easy because the process is not streamlined. So if you only recruit as a reaction to something that's happened and you're rushing and it's all a matter of urgency and everything is urgent and everybody's rushing, or your environment is toxic and your managers are burning out, then the entire process is biased. It comes from a negative place. I mean, we get asked sometimes to recruit for companies that are usually in our local market that haven't adapted. So they're asking for recruitment. Everything is sort of last minute, everything is rushed. They put people through a process that isn't particularly well planned or respectful in that sense. So talented candidates are like, well, if this is an indicator of what I'm going to go through, thanks, but no thanks. So they routinely lose talent and they don't listen because we give them the feedback. But if they don't listen, then they lose out.
So everything has to do with listening at the end of the day. It's unbelievable. One last question before we open the floor to anyone who wants to ask their question. And I'm going to go back to scratching your entrepreneurial spirit or urge. How can you encourage others? Because we have a lot of entrepreneurs on this show, leaders, managers, people who have moved from companies to go on their own path. And I want to ask you this because I believe you're very successful in what you do. And I would love your opinion. And success for me is not only monetary, it's how you come across and how you're respected in your market. And you are together with your associates. So my question is, how can you encourage others to follow and sustain an entrepreneurial path?
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest things we can do is to lead by example. I think that when we're out there as entrepreneurs and we're offering ourselves back, so whether it's mentoring, whether it's blogging about significant issues, whether it's offering your support and time to younger aspiring entrepreneurs, or even, it doesn't have to be younger actually, it has nothing to do with age. There might be people that have waited their whole life to take that leap. And I think you can inspire people by giving them time or holding space for them. And I know that there are lots of groups and, LinkedIn is amazing for creating that sort of audience. But I think one of the best ways that we can encourage entrepreneurs is by being there for them and reaching out and making sure that we offer each other colleague, peer support. In England, We always used to talk a lot about peer support, and it's a very, very, very valuable concept that in Cyprus, I find we're not quite there yet with peer support. We're so competitive, but actually we would do better as an economy and as professionals if we leaned in together and we offered each other that sort of support professionally, and then we'd be able to grow entrepreneurs organically. It would be something that we would be able to sort of enhance as an economy, and we're such a small island, it would be so easy to do.
That was my follow-up question. Probably because we are a small island, are people looking at their competitors? Because there isn't so much to maneuver in here, and if you are not an international agency like yours, maybe there isn't much space to maneuver, so we look at people as competitors instead of cooperators.
They do. Yes. They do, but I argue. I don't agree with it at all when people have that mindset. I think it's a mindset of fear, and I think anything that has a basis in fear and anxiety means we're held back. So when we step outside our comfort zone and we say, you know what, I've always got stuff to learn. So you have an agency, I have an agency, I'm from this, you're from this. We can learn. At the end of the day, the beauty of being digital and us living at this time in history is that we can work from anywhere for anywhere. So why can't I do business from Cyprus for anywhere? It's a huge market if you look at it that way.
It's true. It's true. Very true. Guys, let me recap what Katerina has said before we open it up to questions. Katerina, who is an amazing person and personality, I always wondered why she has 26,326 followers, but now I know she comes from a psychology background, and she's using her psychology to help people, motivate people, and she's coming across very positively, and this has had an impact on her business, but also in the image that I see out there, and that's the reason we invited you on the Jumpstart Monday show. She told us that in order to hire and retain talent, you need to listen in. You need to listen on what your internal customers are telling you, your colleagues. You need to listen at what the candidates are telling you. You need to listen at the trends out there in the market. And the owners and the managers, CEOs that are invested in their business are the ones that will fly to a destination. In this case, it was Cyprus, all the way from the UK, to brainstorm with the experts in order to find what they needed to offer to attract and keep talent. It's not only important to attract talent, but to keep the talent inside your house. So we listen inside as well. And it doesn't matter if you're a small or a big firm. At the end of the day, the beauty of being small is that you can shine immediately. But the beauty of being a bigger firm is that you have more opportunities and possibilities. And it comes down to the HR department and everyone else, all the managers, they need to listen in. 2 ears and one mouth. Listening to what your people are saying, and you become much better. At the end of the day, we shouldn't be looking at other firms in the same industry as competitors, but we should join forces and exchange ideas, because if I have €1 and you have €1 and we exchange it, we both end up having €1 each. But if you have one idea and I have one idea and we exchange it, we both end up having 2 ideas each. So we truly benefit. So Katerina, anything else that I missed? Please feel free to tell me.
No, that was a very good synopsis. I like that. I love the €2 thing.
Let's start with the questions. We have 2 questions coming in. Feel free to send your questions, and we're exactly on time. We'll invest another 4 to 5 minutes. Is that okay, Katerina?
Sure. Yeah.
First question comes from Savas Konstantinidis, and he says, what are your tips for talents that are actively seeking a job when it comes to company culture? People seeking a job when it comes to company culture, what should they be looking at?
I think job seekers start evaluating the employer from the second they send their CV. So did they reply to me? Did I get ghosted? Who replied to me? Does the HR book me in respectfully for the interview? Did I get enough notice? I think that job seekers need to look at things from the get-go, and employers need to see that so that their processes are nice and concise and congruent with the culture that they're trying to put out there. But I think it literally starts from the minute that they express their interest in a job role, right through to when they first walk through the door for the face-to-face interview, because eventually there's usually almost always a face-to-face. And everything is evaluated from that minute onwards.
I love your reply. It's true. As the great Anthony Robbins once said, success leaves clues. And even if you handle it successfully, you will leave clues. If you handle it unsuccessfully, still you will leave clues.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah. Plus, we're very instinctive as a species. So, you know, if your gut tells you it's wrong, it probably is.
I read in an amazing book by Tim Ferriss, where he interviews a lot of people, a lot of successful people. I read something that really resonated with me, and I'm keeping it from that day on. If there is doubt, there is no doubt.
Yeah,
if there
exactly.
is doubt, there is no doubt.
Yep,
So
that's
the
changer.
Yeah, the game changer. The next question comes from a lady you know very well, and I know her even better than you. She's my wife, Christine, and this is what she says. What can you tell us, Katerina, about candidates that grab an external job opportunity and use it as a way to retain themselves inside the company? You see this trend more and more often nowadays?
Yeah, you know, Christine and all fellow HR, talent acquisition, recruitment, wherever you are in the HR world, we are all seeing this trend more and more. And I'm very conflicted. I'm very honest about it. I don't like when candidates do that and they leverage an offer against their employer, because there's an aspect of sabotage, of blackmail. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. As an employer, I would find that very difficult to recover from. I would feel hijacked, which kind of kills the egalitarian healthiness of a good relationship. But having said that, I have heard so many nightmare, horrible stories from candidates that have experienced toxic environments, bullying, horrible mental health issues to do with being treated badly at work, that I kind of understand when in some sectors that are quite rife with that sort of unhealthiness, why they end up doing it, because they think, I've been burned, this time it's going to be my terms, I'm going to take charge. So I understand it. I can tell you that I don't recommend it. As somebody in recruitment, I don't recommend it at all, because in the end, you know, word travels, reputation is everything. And if you treat an employer like that, it will get out, whether it's when the time comes and you ask for a reference letter, or when people generally talk in your sector. It's not a good idea. But I think the solution to it is basically to hopefully, if we worked together to sort of remove the toxicity, it would mean that people didn't feel the need to stoop so low.
I love your answers, and I love how you come from different angles and how you see both sides of the coin. I know, but the next one will be tough as well. That's a great question. I wish I thought of this question myself, but I haven't. It's coming from somebody I know very well, but you know him even better than me. Let's go and see. If we're seeking the best employment, Kevin says, in Cyprus or Europe, where should we go? And be careful, what you answer.
Well, you should definitely go to a really good recruitment agency, I know. Good recruiters.
Okay, maybe I'll answer this. So just for you to know, Kevin, here is where you should go. Are you ready? Here, over here, over here, over here, my friend. Coming at you. Another question, last question for the day. Is that okay?
Sure. Yep, fire away.
Fire away. And then we go to our winner, Marina Sebastidou. What would you say about employers' ability to respond to the expectations of markets now globally for more inclusive work-life balance workplaces, as well as staying competitive in terms of compensations and benefits?
Okay. I mean, again, I understand both sides. I understand that employers have resources, budgets, that, you know, as employers, we're all fighting to sort of make sure that we're competitive and we're maintaining the health of our business for everybody. However, I think it's short-sighted to ignore the expectation of the market and use the excuse as, well, I haven't got the budget right now. Well, I haven't got the capacity right now, because you have to look at the long term, not the short term. The risk with things like COVID and everything we've been through lately is that people develop this very short-sighted, immediate response to everything. Everything is only about what they can see to this point. But actually, we still have to plan ahead. And if the market is saying that people want more inclusive environments, more work-life balance, in the end, this will affect your profitability and revenue anyway, because happy employees are productive. So you can use budgets and resources as an excuse or as a reason to stay in fear and not make the changes that the market is asking of you, but you will pay for it in the long run because it's a false economy you're making.
Because I love your answers, I will give you another question. If your answers were not good, I will tell you we have finished. Last question, because my friend Vale is going to kill me if I don't ask this question. It's coming all the way from Athens, from one of the best law firms in Athens, in Greece. And the question is, and Valia, please do look up HRInnovate. They're great if you're looking for talent. What do you think about the gamification platforms that have recently showed up in the evaluating process of candidates?
I actually think they're very innovative, and they're kind of genius, because basically it means that we're adapting to the younger generations of candidates that are out there. It means that we are changing and adapting along with technology our recruitment processes, and we're using augmented reality, we're using virtual reality, we're using AI, and all these things that are already here. There's no point resisting them. And I think using gamification platforms just means we've reached another level of touching candidates, of showing potential employees that we're here to stay. We adapted, we're innovative, we're going to do it your way. Why not?
Should we be using only gamification platforms, or should we mix and match with other ways of hiring?
I think depending on sector and depending on the role and level, I think that HR has to be flexible and it has to be agile. I love that word, agile. But you need to be able to adapt. You can't just apply gamification processes to everything.
I understand.
You can be flexible.
Like everything in life and in business.
Yes. Yeah.
Katerina, I have to tell you were wonderful. Our gut feeling together with Martina and Sofia was right to bring you on the show. Thank you to Christine for suggesting you. I wish I could take the credit. And Katerina, one final word for our friends and fans here on the Jumpstart Monday show from you.
Well, I think if I had to leave anybody with any golden nugget, I think I would say it's with anything in life, if you are true to who you are and you hire accordingly, if you're doing anything in HR or recruitment and you want to do something good for your community and your business community, but the world around you, it starts with you. So whether you're an employer or an employee, just be who you are, try and do the best you can every day and spread the word. It's not that complicated.
Katerina, thank you very much for being on our show. It was an honor and a pleasure. Give my best regards to all your team, and hope to have you on our show very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. I had a blast.
Likewise, thank you also to everyone who has tuned in. Let me say that I am off to the United States to run an intervention for a company there. So next Monday, there won't be any show. And when I come back, depending on jet lag, there might be a show in 2 weeks' time. I have to be honest, Katerina. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you to everyone.
Fabulous.
All the best. Take good care. Bye.